planet's on fucking fire.
Raise your hand if you didn't know that George Floyd was 6'7". He was tall as Kobe Bryant. He had dreams of going to the NBA. He was a star football player and basketball player in high school. And again, he fell victim to the street life, started dealing drugs, started robbing people, and he ended up going to prison for 5 years. When he got out of prison, he actually went right back to the streets, except this time he was homeless. He was homeless, and he came to a point where he's realizing, I have to get out of Houston for myself to really thrive. So he decided to move to Minneapolis. He moved to Minneapolis, got involved in the church, started making rounds around the neighborhood, giving offerings to residents for free grocery deliveries, inviting them to Bible study. Like, George Floyd really changed his life. He got back on the straight and narrow. You can clap for that, because that's a win in his life. He came from the bottom, he came from the mud, and he rose to the top. He ended up getting a security job at a homeless shelter. Often, he would actually escort a lot of the women to their cars to keep them safe. That is who George Floyd was. He was like a big teddy bear. And then the pandemic hit, and he lost his job. And then within a couple months, he found himself at a corner store allegedly buying cigarettes with a counterfeit 20. And within an hour, George Floyd took his last breath. I want everyone, just for a second, to think about the love, the light, and the joy that he was able to bring into this world while he was alive. He is survived by 5 kids. And he did make an impact in this world while he was here. He made an impact on his community. He had people that loved him, that he loved. He had family, he had friends. He had aspirations. And it was stolen from him by white supremacy, which happens to so many black people. But while he was here, I want people to know that he made an impact and that he did get back on the straight and narrow path. And when he passed, George Floyd's spirit cracked the world wide open. George Floyd's spirit cracked the world wide open. Before George Floyd, this world was not pushing for abolition as hard. Not even close. But when we all watched that video of him getting kneeled on for 9 minutes straight, his spirit cracked the world wide open, and it's made demands. It's made clear demands. Fuck Derek Chauvin. There's so many racist killer cops that I can list. I could go down a line, and then we'd be here all day. Fuck Andrew Harris, who shot Quantas Hayes in the head, but on his knees with his hands up. Fuck Jeffrey Livingston and Gary Britt, who shot Patrick Kimmons in the back 9 times. But this is more than just about these killer-ass cops. The call is that we, like Julianne was saying, that we transform this world in the way that we live. Everybody say transform. 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 Not reform. We are not here to reform the police. George Floyd's spirit proved that reforming the police is fucking futile. There's no more reforming this. When the Minneapolis Police Department, a couple years ago, they went through a reform program called 8 Can't Wait. They went through this entire program, and Derek Chauvin had 17 police misconduct complaints filed on him. That's just what was reported. Imagine all the complaints that were not actually filed. 17 still managed to kill George Floyd. That opened up millions of eyes around this world that we're not going to reform the police. At this point, we have to abolish the police. And it's going to take that mutual aid that Julianne was talking about. It's going to take us continuously coming together, trying to figure out solutions, trying to meet the demands of the people that we already have. We need to defund the police. They have way too much money Take that money out of their pockets, put it into education and after-school programs. So these kids can actually be productive with their time, and we're not feeding the school-to-prison pipeline. Give it to the homeless. Give this money to the homeless. They need food. They need shelter. Why do the police have so much money? And all they do is spend all their day harassing homeless people. It's some bullshit. It's so backwards. What I've really come to realize is that when it comes to reform, understand white folks who are on the fence who still might think that we need police in our communities. I want you to understand something. The status quo right now with the police is that they kill black people and there's no accountability. There's no denying this. So if you want to reform the police, you are pushing for the status quo. If you are pushing for abolition, you are pushing for liberation. Okay? The difference is crucial. That's the only way we'll be liberated, is getting these crooked, racist-ass police off of our city, off of our streets. One way we can do that is to defunding the police. Another way we can do that is to abolishing qualified immunity.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you, and there's no shame at all in this, raise your hand if you do not know what qualified immunity is. Raise your hand. Okay, only a couple people. That's good. So a lot of people are more versed on this. That's beautiful to see. For those that don't know, qualified immunity is the shield that allows police to dodge accountability. So when they shoot somebody and make a mistake, or they violate somebody's rights, qualified immunity allows the police to not be accountable. Right? It creates an imbalance in our communities. This is why people hate the police so much. Because they kill us and they're not held accountable, but they're supposed to be serving us. That makes no sense. So when we all saw George Floyd murdered like that, that inspired the whole world to transform the way that we live in the society. We do not need the police. We need resources. We need ways to actually keep our communities safe. A lot of reason why white folks don't understand why, like, when it comes to a lot of white communities, they think that the police are like they treat police like a service that they only interact with when they call for it. Kind of like a plumber.
Yeah.
Right? So with black and brown communities, they actually get policed. White communities don't really get policed. Policing doesn't really happen in white communities. And so the difference in experience between black and brown communities and white communities is like two different worlds. It's two completely different worlds. This is why black and brown communities want to get rid of the police so badly. So that we don't have another George Floyd. Cannot afford to have any more George Floyds. Or Patrick Kimmons, or Sandra James, or Sandra Bland.
Mic check. Thank you. So, I want people to really continue to put the pressure on your city officials to create policies that are actually going to keep us safe. We have to defund the police, y'all. We have to. They have way too much money. $115 billion for what? Just to roll around and traumatize our communities? It makes no sense. We have to take away that shield of protection that keeps the police from being accountable. Do y'all think that police should not be able to get away with crimes and not be accountable? Do y'all think that when a police officer harms us, we should be able to sue them? This is something that we can all agree on. We can all unite on qualified immunity and getting rid of it. 3 states have already gotten rid of it. New York, New Mexico, and Colorado have already abolished qualified immunity. Oregon, do y'all want to be the 4th state? So you have to continue to get educated on it and keep pressure on them. Keep the pressure on them. Because until the police, until this racist institution of policing is over, my life is still at risk. You understand that? Just for who I am, just for being black. Rain's life is still at risk. Julianne's life is still at risk. So white folks, your charge is to take our black voices, go into your white communities and amplify our voices in those white spaces, right? You take our voices and you amplify them in spaces where my voice is not going to be accepted or not going to be respected. Because white supremacy in the police state is not our problem. It's white folks' problem. Y'all created this shit. You need to change this shit. And we're going to help you change it. We're going to help you because we have to. Our lives literally depend on it. But it's up for y'all to take that charge. Are y'all going to take that charge? Yeah. Are you going to call out racism when you see it? Yeah. Are you going to do everything you can to hold police accountable? Yeah. Are you going to do everything you can? Yeah. Beautiful. Do it for George Floyd's family. Do it for all black people. Because when black people are liberated, everybody's going to be liberated. Black liberation is human liberation at the end of the day. When they change these laws, it's not going to say these laws are for black people. It's going to say these laws are for all people. Y'all benefit too. So let's do this together, y'all. I love y'all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being attentive. To bring it back, rest in power, rest in peace, rest in love. George Floyd, rest in power, rest in peace, rest in love. George Floyd! Rest in power, rest in peace, rest in love. Fist George up. Floyd! Fist up. Rest in power, rest in peace, rest in love. George Floyd! Rest in power, rest in peace, rest in love. George Floyd! George Floyd, thank y'all.
And this is a chant, it's an ode to Brianna. What do we do? Stand up, fight back! What do we do? Stand up, fight back! What do we do? Stand up, fight back! No cops! No prison!
why Black Lives Matter right now is because we are being affected a more drastic way.
Why can't it say all life?
Because it's not all about you, boo. Life isn't
What makes
based
the
on
black
that.
person any better? You just said that.
Justice in this town. Mama, mama, can't you see? What the system's done to me? They locked us up, they put us down. There ain't no justice in this town. Papa, Papa, don't you cry. Today is not my day to die. Papa, Papa, don't you cry. Today is not my day to die. 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 Today is not my day to die.
I will say this might make you uncomfortable. If we were to consider the Holocaust, I wonder how much we would defund them and how much we would save to continue to burn in Jews. I just wonder how much money we would want to set aside to keep burning children. When we have black people who are pregnant, they are thrust into a system that devalues the very essence of their being. And by the time they are in a place to give birth, they enter most often into facilities that do not believe that their word, their voice, their breath, their intuition matters. Although this system felt more than comfortable to strip my black women naked, to experiment on our bodies for your medicine. And when black people enter into a system to give birth to another sacred life, the very essence of who they are is not considered. And as they give birth to however many sacred beings, those beings also are not considered. And by the time those beings are 2 years old, they are choosing who they're going to hang out with based on who they've been socialized by. So white people, by the time your white community is 2, and I value people as full people, so if we're talking about a 2-month-old or a 200-year-old, I believe that they matter. So by the time that your white children are 2, they're choosing who they are going to hang around for the duration of their life based on the job that your community did. And we know the job that your community did because prisons exist because we have not abolished slavery.
Right. Yes. That's true.
So by the time your children, white people, come to me in kindergarten, and this is factual, the most N-words come out of kindergarten in a public school system because those children do not know how to filter. So you get people like myself who do abolition work, who do restorative justice, transformative justice, hold mediations, hold listening circles. I teach your people about what your ancestors have done. I hold conversations with 5-year-olds who don't understand why calling another melanated person that they see on the playground, I'm saying another, like they see multiple, they might not see multiple. When white children call black, brown, or indigenous children the N-word or racial epithets, somebody sometimes pushes in and has those conversations. And I can imagine, if you have any sense of understanding about how the brain works, that it is incredibly challenging for all youth at play to understand the historical imbalance. And so I hold these conversations with white children, and I support Black and brown and indigenous children and regaining their fire, their strength, remembering their ancestral calling. This all happens in a 10-minute period. Mind you, school is but a fraction of the place where children are really learning how to be socialized. It is in the environments that you all are creating and curating and supporting and paying for. James Baldwin often talked about, Auntie Baldwin, talked about how if, as Black people, we have to pay for the injustices that our ancestors experienced, that so do white people, right? Like every single day, as a light-skinned Black person, I enter the world and I am treated as such. So I don't get to say, no, my people didn't do that. I'm not going to work hard to create change. I'm not going to work hard to kill the cop in my mind. Because remember, white supremacy is the ocean. It is not the shark. So we are all swimming in it. So your job every single day is to kill the KKKOP in your mind so that when you come into contact with another person, you remember your humanity. When we are in schools, these are colonized schools that are meant to uphold systems of oppression. You all know this. It is not my job as a Black person to educate you on the systems in which you benefit. You all know this. I often go into classrooms of middle schoolers where white educators are frustrated that Black children are tapping on the table. Mind you, white children are texting the most disgusting, racist, disrespectful things you can think of. But it is the white child that gets away with it, that gets a pass. And it is the Black child that's trying to express themselves. Black, brown, and indigenous children are 10 times more likely to get punished for doing the same thing that their white comrade is doing or counterpart is doing in a school system. Those are just numbers that we are pulling from people who are called climate specialists who visit schools twice a year. I will tell you, as someone who has worked intimately in schools, not only across Oregon, across the world, since I was 13, I'm 37, it happens daily. It is not 10%, it's 90%. It is 90% of the time, because at 2 years old, remember friends, at 2 years old, white children are choosing who they're going to hang out with, and it is socially reinforced by their community and accepted every step of the way. It is uncomfortable to hold conversations where you are essentially begging for people to wake up to their humanity. It is important that you all sit in that discomfort every single day because you have a past. I have access because of the amount of melanin in my skin, so I hold conversations with other white people, with other Black people, because I often can say things that my more richly melanated community cannot say. That is a level of access that I flex every fucking day, and I hope that you flex it too. Every single day that there is a Black life that enters into this planet, we are on a path to genocide. It is not the school to prison pipeline, it is the birth to genocide pipeline. I want you all to believe in one another so much that, like our friend said earlier, you are making the systems of policing obsolete. It is not that challenging to consider how much money you would give to kill people during the Holocaust. I don't think you would give any money to them. And if you would give money to them, I want you to sit in that place and think about your humanity. So no, I do not want to defund a system that for 400 plus years still wears a goddamn badge that looked like the badge when they came to collect my people. from running away from rape and abuse. I didn't want to bear their children. I didn't want to cook their food. My ancestors did that on stolen land as stolen people. And a person that was white and forgot their humanity wore a badge that they still wear. They still wear the same badge. This is not hyperbole. Come on, people. I'm asking you to wake up to your humanity. I'm asking you to have uncomfortable conversations with your children. I'm asking you to have comfortable conversations with the community around you if you don't have children. I'm asking you to speak up in the face of adversity every single time, all the time, in whatever way you can, because we are being lynched every fucking day in these streets. And you all think it's a game. How much money would we have given people in the Holocaust to continue to burn babies? To continue to experiment on their bodies? You continue to give money to systems that experiment on my people's bodies, that drop bombs in places where brown people are losing their very sense of being. Long live the Intifada! Our oppressions are global. It is not just here on this land. And so to think that way is very narrow-minded thinking. We have bodies burning in Tigray. We have bodies burning in the Congo. We have babies burning across this world because white people only want to be uncomfortable between the hours of 9 to 5. It is not just the school to prison pipeline. There is a level of recidivism for a reason. The level of recidivism is there because there's not any systems in place to help people heal. So when we talk about abolition, friends, we are talking about believing in our community. We're talking about trusting that the therapists that you all know and see, that the school counselors that you all know and see, that that person down at the market who's really chill and a community member that you know and see, that all of these people are strong enough, sound body and mind, to do the work, to be the change, that they are willing every day to do that work inside of their own mind, inside of their own sphere, to heal themselves on an epigenetic level, to continue that work of their ancestors, that you believe so fully in the unknown, that you believe in the unknown, that you're walking in the dark, and you believe that underneath you is a beautiful ancestor that is carrying you. You don't only see the way, but the ancestor is there. You believe it so deeply that we don't have to ask the enslavers from the outside to continue to police us and continue to lynch black and brown bodies. I want you to love black and brown people. I want you to remember that everything came from Africa. I want you to remember that everything came from Africa, that it still continues to come from Africa. That most of the things that you know as things that help your life just even exist are from black, brown, and indigenous people. I want you to care so much about this life right now that you're willing to die today. I say this often. I have an 11-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. And I will step in front of any of you. I will step in front of any of your children any day. And I will die for you. Because I believe that my mission towards being that change starts with actually being that change. Not just sometimes, not just when it's comfortable, not just when I'm close to my family and I can go back home. All the time, every day I'm gonna stand up. Every single day, in whatever way my body can uplift, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to be the change unrelentlessly. Every single day. Because I don't want to fund a fucking Holocaust. I don't want to fund the death of more black bodies. I want to love the black bodies that are here right now. I want to show them that I care about them so deeply that I am willing to be that change, and I'm willing to state that I'm often wrong. I'm willing to be accountable. It's a very courageous thing to do. No one should have to tell white people about their history. White people, you know your history. I want you to be uncomfortable all the time. All the time be uncomfortable. Black fathers matter so deeply. Black fathers are magical. Black fathers are sacred. Black fathers are ineffable. Black fathers help move this movement forward. And they took George Floyd in a very public way on purpose to send you all a message. And so far the message has not hit. You were comfortable watching 9 minutes of a black person being lynched. And you're comfortable thinking about funding those people lynching us more. So tonight when you go home, I want you to think about how can you be more uncomfortable for our liberation. All power to the people.